RPI Consultants administered a month-long survey across the Infor Lawson community. Our goal was to find out how users felt about the product, from functionality and ease of use to migration plans and areas for improvement. We've captured it all. Keep listening to find out our top 3 findings. Welcome to RPI Tech Connect. I'm your host, Chris Harry. Today, we'll be discussing survey data collected across the Infor Services community. We administered this survey between December 2023 and January 2024. It asked questions regarding users' experience with Infor, as well as their plans for the system going forward. And to help us make sense of the data we collected, we have industry leader and RPI partner, Mr. Leigh Stout. Stout, what's up, man? Can you tell us about yourself?
Hey, Chris. Thanks so much for having me on the program this week. Long-time listener, first-time guest. My name is Leigh Stout. I'm one of the partners here at RPI Consultants. I started the company back in 2004. I've had a few different roles, consulting and in both functional and technical areas. I managed our tech services practice for some time. And currently, my focus is on bridging the gap between sales and delivery. And what that means is I need to ensure that RPI is offering service that meets our clients' needs, that's priced competitively, and that it's quick and easy for our clients to engage RPI to meet their Infor needs.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for sharing that and for joining us on the show today. We have an exciting agenda ahead. Like I said, we're going to talk about survey data, and my goal is to identify the top 3 findings from the data we collected. So is there anything you'd like to ask me before we jump in?
Sure. Well, Chris, why did RPI do a survey?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm glad you asked. So there's a couple reasons, and the first is that we genuinely want to understand what's going on in the community. How are folks feeling about the system, about the changes, about the move of on-premise support to 2030, things like that. And the second is, I think that collecting, feedback like this is invaluable, and I think if listened and acted upon, it can help influence the future of the product. And that gets to my last point here, which is that we want to start tracking this information on an annual basis. I think that's going to help with trending and more accurately understanding what's happening in the Infor community.
Yeah, that's great. And I think a lot of our clients are going to find this information really valuable. I mean, everybody wants to benchmark sort of where are they at and how are their feelings about their use of Infor software compare with their peers.
Yeah, it's an exciting time, and I'm thrilled to see some of the things that we've collected through this process, and hopefully going forward each year we get a little more people to participate, and trending that information over time.
Yeah, but
I'm also not used to being in the hot seat, so I appreciate you throwing me one. This is a first for RPI Tech Connect. But yeah, with that background, I'm glad we got to talk about that. But let's go right ahead and jump into our first finding. And that first major takeaway is something I think we kind of almost anticipated, but now we have the data that kind of supports it. And that's that folks need help with reporting. The majority of respondents say the biggest area Infor can improve upon is with reporting. And while we saw some improvements in 2023, it's evidently not enough. So what's going on? What do you think of that?
Yeah, I hear that a lot. And honestly, I think this is a broader issue with a big industry shift moving from on-prem to SaaS solutions. For a long time, we all invested in technology and education on how to use that technology around reporting based on on-prem relational databases. I mean, I personally have a programming background. I think I'm still pretty fluent in SQL, even though I haven't used it in years. And it's a difficult shift. It's a difficult shift for me, when the systems that I use every day are now on a platform that I no longer have the ability to just go in and do some ad hoc queries, or access the data the way that I'm familiar with. And I'm sure it's a difficult shift for uh, report development professionals, for IT managers and directors, and for really anybody that needs to solve business challenges around data visibility, and commit development resources in any particular area. I think the entire industry has been figuring this out uh, as we've gone along over the past few years, right? So we've had first a big shift to reposition these solutions as to multi-tenant cloud, and I think really clarity on reporting strategy has maybe come a little bit too late, right? There have been a lot of us that have made that jump to the cloud and then found that maybe the direction from the vendor, or the tools that are available, or just like the understanding of what the strategy is and how to approach this in a multi-tenant application delivery world just hasn't been as mature as certainly as what the world that we just came from, in which we have 20 years of history working with database and reporting solutions.
Yeah, and those are great insights. And it's what's interesting too is that the data, folks are saying they're having challenges with reporting, and there's almost this kind of contradictory component to the data too that said, when folks were asked how easy it was to access and retrieve data, a lot of folks actually said that, they rated that process as well or very well. So like, why do we think that there's this gap or like difference in opinion on one where Infor can improve, and two, like some people are saying it's totally fine? Why do you think
Yeah,
that is?
I also found that to be a really interesting insight, poking into this data. It's certainly one of the first things that stuck out to me when I saw the really excellent infographic that you put together to sort of break down all this information. And it, when I talk to clients about how well they're able to use Infor to get data out, or do reports, I think one of the things that strikes me is that uh, there are a number of different tool sets that are delivered by Infor for reporting, and there's different tool sets that have strengths in different areas that are more positioned towards different use cases. So, you know, uh, as a company, obviously, we're trying to provide as much education as we can on how to use those tool sets, right? We want to enable our client base to understand what are the tools that are available, and how, what is the appropriate way to put them to use, and then how do we go about actually developing reports. But we also need to look beyond the Infor toolbox, right? The clients that we have that are finding the most success with getting data out of their ERP system use a multi-vendor approach to reporting. So sure, they've taken up the different reporting capabilities within Infor, but they've also taken advantage of the excellent interface and bulk data export capabilities of the platform to integrate other third-party reporting tool sets, either cloud to cloud, or by doing maybe a data replication to an on-premise or hosted database. So they're able to really put together a number of different tools at their disposal. Some baked into the application, others maybe tools that they're already familiar with, perhaps already in that organization's reporting portfolio that they have development skills and experience working with. And I think that maybe helps explain the disconnect.
Yeah, so we think then that the folks who are saying that accessing and reporting on data within Infor we think that the people who responded well and very well to that question are deploying a multi-solution approach. Is that right?
That's my theory. Yes. And
Yeah.
why don't you let us know in the comment section if that's true? If I'd love to hear more from clients. Is that strategy working for you or no?
Yeah. Uh, Great, a great comment, Stout. And yes, please, for those listening in, if you would love to, we would love to hear from you, what your experience with reporting has been. Are there any products in particular that we kind of frequently encourage folks to use, Stout? Any name drops today?
Yeah, sure. I'll just throw a couple out there. That have really gotten a lot of traction, at least among our client
Mm.
base. There's a product called Spreadsheet Server made by Insight Software, which is really focused on reporting within Microsoft Excel, particularly in the finance space. That's something that really appeals to accounting and finance professionals working with Infor. The other one is Dashboard Gear. Dashboard Gear is a data model that helps clients helps clients with both ad hoc and more structured reporting needs, and it's a great complement to the data models that are delivered by Infor.
Nice. Thanks for sharing that with us. Before we move on to our next insight, I have one last question for you about reporting. Is that there's been these challenges, and I think at Infor Connect last year they had mentioned something about a data lake. So, what does the future of native Infor reporting look like? Is there any hope there?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. This is a big area of investment by Infor. They did hear of this feedback from the client base, and they positioned their development resources to attacking it. Right, their Infor is really prioritizing uh, you know, filling these gaps in reporting with the platform. And one of the way that they do that is they leverage some of the platform capabilities of Amazon Web Services, right? We all know that Infor Cloud Suite runs on Amazon Web Services, and Amazon has a lot of different capabilities and features that are exposed, at the application platform level that Infor can then take and make a part of their solution. And the data lake is one of them, right? Data lake is an Amazon concept that's been brought forward by Infor. There's a lot that they're doing in that area, but I would say that you know uh, our business needs, they certainly can't wait for new
Mm.
software or solutions to be developed and rolled out. We certainly shouldn't pin our hopes on any one company just coming through with some sort of silver bullet for this, right? Um,
Yeah,
you know,
that's a great point.
RPI has been working in the space for a long time, right? And I can think of assessments that we did 10 plus years ago that we identified reporting as a major challenge, and we talked about some of the tools that are available at a time and would position newer technology. And this is a constantly evolving space, and there's always room for improvement with reporting capabilities. So I think it's important to just take a look at what's available now and use the tools that are available now, not put off any possible improvement, and just try and keep in mind that whilst we try to position the areas that we are investing in, to obviously want to align our work towards what the go forward strategy is from the software vendor. Any of that could really change, as time moves on anyway. So we just need to make reasonable decisions to empower our business users for their current needs.
Nice. Yeah, thanks for that. That's solid advice. And I think that's a great segue into our big takeaway, a second takeaway rather, and that is about migration plans. So, what we asked Lawson for finance users, what their plans were for moving to the cloud, and most of them actually said that they did not have plans to move within the next 3 years. And on the flip side, Lawson for HR, they had a pretty much a contrasting response, and most of them answered that they would be planning to move to the cloud within the next 3 years. Why do we think that there is this difference in opinion, well, not an opinion, but plan for moving to the cloud between these different audiences?
Yeah.
Any thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah, that was really interesting. And, that was at first a bit of a challenge, I think, for us to truly put our finger on. And I gotta
Mm.
say that, Chris, your team has done a great job of really digging into this data and doing some analysis to help maybe pull back the covers on some of these insights. So,
Thank you.
we took a look at the question we asked about Infor system usage, right? Like how effectively does your organization use the system? And we correlated that, within the finance area, we saw pretty good customer satisfaction with the system, but that didn't translate as well over to the HR side, right? There were a
Mm.
number of respondents that actually identified their Infor system as somewhat ineffectively meeting their needs. Now, I think that definitely drives the momentum towards moving to a new system. You know, I would I would I would assume that those clients that find Infor is not meeting their needs now,
Yeah.
certainly there's areas to optimize or improve the way that application is aligned to their business processes. And going through an implementation is an excellent opportunity to sort of reset that, right? Set aside what didn't work in the past and implement a leading practice design. I think in the HR space as well, the way that the system is used is pretty different than in finance supply chain. I think a lot of HR systems are really touching every employee of the organization. And it's important for organizations to provide good employee experience with things like, interacting with HR, with employee relations, with tasks such as benefits enrollment. And for those clients that are still on Lawson, I think that solution can feel it can feel a little dated or awkward to the average organizational employee who isn't using that system on a day-to-day basis, whereas a system like Cloud Suite feels a lot more like a modern application and has a lot more self-service capability, and that's what the modern workforce expects. And I think that's a big driver for clients, particularly in the HR space, to get onto a modern cloud-based application.
Yeah, that's great commentary. And so, if I'm hearing you correctly here too, it's that so the folks who rated their experience using Infor, namely the HR folks who I guess said that their experience was less than ideal, were more eager to move to the cloud, and it's probably based on that experience. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's what we're seeing here. Contrast that to the finance space where we have pretty high client satisfaction. Um,
Yeah.
and the for those clients that are still using Lawson, they do have until 2030 to make that move. So if that system is working well for you, if it meets your needs, and there's no other compelling reason to move forward, I can see why maybe organizations aren't ranking that as a short-term priority.
Yeah. No, that's great. That makes sense too. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Ride it out
I
until
think
you
that's what we're
absolutely
seeing
have
here.
to.
They're let's just say that I know that our clients face many competing priorities. So, when you've got an end of life date for a legacy application that's, still 6 years, in the future, and you've got some pretty good client satisfaction on that application, I can see why
Yeah.
that's not more near term in their roadmap.
Got it. Yeah, that makes total sense. All right. So then we're getting into the final takeaway from this annual survey. It's talking about workforce management, namely the Infor product. This question asked folks what they were using to manage workforce management, responsibilities, and we saw that nearly 40% were using either Kronos Workforce Central or Dimensions, and only roughly 20% were using Infor WFM. Now, UKG has historically been a dominant player in the WFM space, and this data kind of shows that. But when you take a closer look and see who answered this question, when we asked this question specifically to Cloud Suite HCM folks, the spread was about even. So what do you think is going on in a workforce management space?
Yeah, obviously UKG is the established player there for time and attendance systems. Infor Workforce Management is a little bit of a newer product, but it still has a pretty long history, and it's fully mature at this point. It meets all of the time and attendance needs of our typical clients. Also has a really strong scheduling application. I think maybe it's just not as well known. There isn't quite that level of marketing, and thankfully those clients that are running Infor for their HR system maybe do get exposed to the possibility of consolidating to Infor for their time and attendance needs as well. Obviously, there's a lot of advantages to being all on the same platform, especially when both suites of applications are best of breed.
Nice. And I think we've been seeing from our own experience too, like internally and from prospects, that there's this maybe renewed interest in WFM.
Yeah.
Both like as an Infor application, but like as a need as well. So like, why do you think that is?
Yeah, for sure. Well, the end of life of Workforce Central, I think pushed a lot of people to take a look at their time and attendance needs, and Infor for their part has been doing a better job sort of getting the name out there. WFM is a top tier product. It just doesn't have that brand recognition that some others do. And I think that that's going to be a big focus of Infor this year is educating the client base. Hey, here's what some of the capabilities and differentiators of WFM are, and I think that's gonna open up the possibility for a lot of organizations to make that jump to Infor WFM. They'll see what a quality product it is, and they'll see the advantages of that tight integration with the HR system.
Nice. And this will be something I'll be curious to see. Like we'll ask a similar question like this next year, and it'll be interesting to see how much the data, how changes between who's using what. I suspect that we'll see an increase in Infor WFM usage. So yeah,
let's check in next year on that.
yeah, I'll send you a calendar invite now. We can circle back. But yeah, man, thanks for getting into the nitty gritty there. So, now that we've identified our top 3 insights from the annual survey, what do you think they suggest for the future of the Infor landscape?
Yeah, I think, what we see here is there's some pretty good client satisfaction with Infor, and we see there's a strong base of customers that are committed to the platform. As an organization, we're aligned with that as well. There's this obviously shows that there's opportunity for improvement, and that's really our mission here at RPI is to assist clients get the most value out of their Infor software investment.
Nice. Well, we're getting to the end of our segment then, and one of the things I like to do is I end every episode is ask the guest if they could offer today's audience one piece of advice. What would you offer them?
Yeah,
I'm going to
if
ask.
you've read through the
Okay.
Infor survey results, and you saw some things in there that piqued your interest, and were wondering, hey, how does my experience with Infor compare to other users or other customers that maybe are like me? My best advice is, get in touch with other clients in your industry, in your region, and make connections and share stories. What's working well for you, what areas aren't, and and find out how other users, perhaps in a similar role to yours, are experiencing the Infor applications. There are a number of different venues for this. There are regional user groups. There are community sites such as Work Out Loud. And of course, we are committed to making those connections as much as possible. RPI, we host events, we have training available, and I think one of the big value propositions of the in-person events that we host are that opportunity to make those lasting connections. And failing that, do feel free to get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to recommend maybe another client that we know about that's in a similar industry role or size that would be willing to meet you and share some stories.
Yeah, thanks, Stout. And for those listening in, we do have a series of upcoming boot camps that we'll be hosting in Baltimore. It's a great place to connect with like-minded folks and to share stories like Stout encouraged you to do. So if you're interested, you can sign up for one of those by visiting our website. If you're interested in getting a copy of our State of the Community infographic report, you can do so by visiting our website as well. If you have any questions about today's episode or a boot camp or the infographic, you can also contact us at podcast@rpic.com. Again, that's podcast@rpic.com. Thanks so much for your time, Stout.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All righty. We'll see you next time. Take care.